Adriano! Nice bit of trickery! Oh, how did he stop that? Hey, what's up, ladies and gents? Welcome to my review of Adriano in eFootball 2024. For those who have played Retro PES, you guys are going to know what Adriano is all about. He was famed for having 99 shot power and being a real menace and danger from any distance. However, I've made a really interesting discovery when using him in eFootball 2024. So what I wanted to do was do a bit of an experimental build, if I'm being brutally honest, with this card. So 8 for shooting, 2 for passing, 8 for dribbling, 8 for dexterity, and 12 for lower body strength, boosting that kicking power to 96. So if we just take a look at him with the booster effect enabled, and this is what he looks like with that manager boost, and with his booster effect on as well. So not the greatest attacking awareness for a fox in the box, but like I said, this was a bit experimental. What I want to do is go past 99 for kicking power and just see the difference that's actually going to make. But he's got some decent physical contact, he's got some good finishing, and obviously when it comes to his player skills, first time shot is obviously important, as is long range shooting. Rising shot's nice to have, so is knuckle shot from taking free kicks. It's got Marseille turn, which is one of my favorite skills, and you're going to see a good example of that in this video. And he's also got heading as well, and he is actually a very, very effective person in the air, considering his stats aren't really suited that way. If you look at his jumping at 78 and his heading at 74, doesn't look all that great, but he does score a lot of headers for me. If we look at his sort of matches played, he's played 11 matches, 12 goals and 4 assists. And honestly, it doesn't feel like he's that prolific, but since I found a new home for him, he performs much better. So the interesting discovery that I found was that the kicking power doesn't have that much of an impact to stunning shots. They feel mostly the same between all players with various kicking power. The only time Adriano's 101 kicking power really came into effect was with his normal and finesse shots. Most of his out of the penalty box stunning shots were actually saved. But this is one of the few that I did actually smash in after a beautiful Marseille turn. But it's his finesse shots that really stood out for me. Honestly, his finesse shots just seem to beat the keepers with ease. Now, I did use Adriano on the right side of a front three, but in all honesty, when I switched to a 3-6-1 as a lone striker, he was much better for me. He just seemed to link up the play really, really nicely, drop deep, pick up the ball, lay it off, and then he's still a threat from range. And obviously, everyone is pretty much scared from his distance. And that's one of the things with Adriano. You got to use that fear of everyone knows what's coming. But you can see here, I faked him out a few times there with the stunning shot, only to cross it for my other player to score. And remember earlier how I said he's a real threat in the air? The amount of headed goals I've scored is actually quite phenomenal with Adriano. He's really surprised me in this regard. And whilst these are two pretty much standard headers, he just seems to be in the right place at the right time. But that is down to his fox in the box role, which I've talked about in the past as being the best for receiving crosses. So if I was building him seriously, this is probably the build I would go for. You're going to not need that 12 points into lower body strength, because I think 97 kicking power is more than adequate. But what is important is that offensive awareness, and getting that to around 88, 89 is where you want it for a fox in the box. I think that's the ideal sort of setting and above. So I would sort of aim for that. And then when it comes to sort of dribbling, you want that high ball control, because the last thing you want to do is take a rogue touch where he's not going to be able to get the ball out of his feet. Obviously, it depends between whether you want to opt for either 7 in lower body strength and 7 for shooting, or 6 for shooting and 8 for lower body strength. I went for 8 for lower body strength. You could probably go 7 and 7 in all honesty, and all that's going to do is just adjust the speed and your sort of finishing, but it's not going to make a massive difference. But this is the way I would go for it, because I think speed is slightly more important than finishing, ever so slightly. But this is definitely the build I would go for if I was leveling correctly. But the build I've got now, like you can see, he's smashing in the goals. It doesn't feel that way, but he is, and he's doing a great job. But I'll be honest with you guys, the player that I really wanted from this pack is this man here, Ronaldinho, and he has been the star of the show. He's absolutely unlike any other player, and simply have to get him if you can. And I would strongly suggest going over and looking at my Ronaldinho review if you haven't already seen it, and especially the build that I've got for this guy, because you can see here the ball is basically glued to his feet. But as for Adriano, I have been quietly surprised. He doesn't seem to be all that good in terms of how he feels, and that's probably down to the build that I've got, but I think the build that I recommended in this video could do a job, and I can't wait to try it out. Anyway, that is pretty much it for me, ladies and gents. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.